We are Cory and Wallace, an early retired couple on a full-time journey around the world. With a passion for exploring new cultures, discovering hidden gems, and enjoying delicious local food, we are on a mission to experience as much of the world as we can.
Welcome back. We're in Cappadocia, Turkey.
And today we're doing something a little bit different for us. We are going to take a guided tour of the highlights of the area here in Cappadocia.
Now, we don't usually do guided tours for a number of reasons. The main one being is that we don't ever feel like we get enough time at like the highlights. The only reason we're doing it is because Turkey has been a little bit more expensive than even we anticipated. We knew that it had gotten expensive. We were not prepared for quite how expensive it was, and also all the scams and stuff. So we've decided that the best way to see the highlights will be a tour.
Yeah. The cost of living here has actually been really cheap. Our Airbnb here is affordable. The local grocery stores have been surprisingly cheap, actually, among the cheapest of the places we've been, including Thailand and Vietnam, which is a nice surprise there. But the taxi rides have been just astoundingly expensive. And when we started looking at all the places we'd want to see, the different places here in Cappadocia that we wanted to go and look at, the transportation to get to those places is astronomically expensive, almost as much as it would cost to rent a car, which also is incredibly expensive. So we decided to suck it up, and we've booked a full day tour through Get Your Guide. That's going to cover all of the major highlights of the area so that we can just quickly see everything in one shot. And honestly, it was only $29 Canadian per person. So I think we're paying like $57, $58 in total.
Now, that is just the ride.
Yes.
At each individual touristy spot, we'll have to pay a commission or pay the entrance fee.
Yeah.
Which also is not super cheap. So they've hiked up all the touristy stuff, it seems like.
Yeah, even from looking at online travel blogs and videos from even a couple years ago, the prices have gone up a lot. Like in some cases, the entrance fees for some of the touristy spots have gone up tenfold, and I'm guessing this has a lot to do with the rampant inflation that impacted the Turkish lira, and that wrecked the economy here in general. So it is what it is. We're here. We knew it was going to cost a little bit more, but basically that's why we've decided to do a tour today instead of our usual, which is just make our way around ourselves to see the sights at our pace. It's about 9:45 in the morning right now, and we're going to be picked up by the tour company shortly. So we're going to go head out, meet the transportation, and we'll go from there. We are at our first site, which is called Pashaba. If you can see that, it's an archaeological site here with some really, really cool rock formations. We're just waiting for the rest of our group to get their tickets, and we'll be walking in.
And about the formation, if I wanted to explain about the formation, here you go, sir. And imagine this is Cappadocia. In here, just under it, there was a magma, and in many different size, there is connections to the top. In the top, there is conical volcanic hills. It's not mountains, it's conical hills, so they start to erupt, and it's not volcanic explosions as well. It's more like, imagine you're boiling the milk, and the cream starts to goes up and falls over the top, right? Same principle. So lava comes out, spreads out, ash goes to the atmosphere, starts to come back and buries the ground. Next time there is an eruption, lava comes out, spreads out in top of the former layer, mostly made out of tuffstone, Tuff. It's a volcanic stone, easy to erode, easy to carve down. And if you look at that side, you can see the separation level between the upper stone and lower stone. In difference, the ground level starts to decrease, but it doesn't decrease like this. It starts to decrease like this because during the decrease, this stone protects the bottom side, and as it starts to come down, it starts to form mushroomish figures. So let me show you an example of how it looks like approximately. So imagine the top layer and the bottom layer. When the ground level starts to decrease, this stone protects the bottom side, and within time it starts to look like this. That's how it forms.
So as our guide was saying, Pashaba, it was also called Monks Valley, and that's because there was a monastery here and a number of monks who lived here, including in that hill you see behind us. There's a little hole up in the side, and that's a window into his home. So yeah, like there's actually like a little house carved into that little rock formation that a monk lived in many years ago, which is really cool.
It's crazy to think how they like actually were able to carve it out. I know that the rock is soft, but it still couldn't have been easy without like modern day tools.
This is so freaking cool.
So we had some fun climbing around in the caves.
Yeah, this place is really kind of cool. It was €12 per person to come in here, so definitely not cheap, but definitely very interesting. So some history on these mushroom rock formations, which is what this area's landscape is famous for. Basically, this whole area is volcanic in nature. So the columns are a soft, it's called tuff rock, T-U-F-F. It's almost like limestone. And then at some point, you know, when the volcanoes were erupting, that got capped with like a harder layer of volcanic rock. And then due to erosion over the thousands and thousands of years or millions of years, the softer tuff rock has eroded from wind and rain and so forth and left these really cool mushroom-shaped columns, which look really neat.
Yeah, there's nothing like it at all, like that I've ever seen. So it's really cool to see.
Yeah, I think the closest that I could compare this to would be like the Badlands in Drumheller, Alberta, back home in Canada. But it's a very different kind of look to it. It doesn't have that same like, you know, mushroom cap formation. Just dry, desolate, you know, landscape, you know, eroded away by wind and rain. So it's similar, but not quite.
We are just at the pottery
Workshop.
Mainly, they're just showing you what they have to sell. Unfortunately, they always spend more time on these things than they do the actual tour, which is unfortunate.
But expected. That's not the first time we've run into this kind of thing, which is why we usually avoid these tours.
Yeah. I mean, everything is really beautiful, but it's really pricey because it's all handmade. So the price is legit.
The one cool thing about this shop, though, is that this is an old pottery shop. I think he said it's on the 7th generation of this family, and it's inside of a cave and a fairly extensive cave system. So it was really cool in there.
Yeah, and it's really cool, like to visualize it and everything like that. And actually, the temperature's really nice in there. But I don't like that they spend, what is it? It's already been like an hour here, whereas at the site. At the other place, we only got half an hour to look around.
Yeah.
To me, it should be flipped. But what can you do?
All right, we are now here at Özkonak Underground City, and we're about to go underground.
You can take photos and videos, just be careful with your stuff.
Okay, my friends, so right now we're in Özkonak Underground City, and everything that you see in here is completely made by chisel and hammer. And if you look at the ceilings, you can still see the marks of the chisels around here. That's how they made them. And this first row is a stable for animals. In almost all the underground cities, they have stables like this, and most of them are for sheep and goats, but this is combined. And this is, just across, there is a bit higher ones, these are for cows, but for smaller ones like this, it's for sheep and goats, and they tie them with the ropes to their necks, and they used to fill it with grass or hay so they can feed them in here. But for the babies, like lambs, there is small sections like those ones, so they keep them in here. And in almost all the underground cities, they keep them in the entrance level or in -1st level because animals make a smell. So if you put them in the lower levels, that smell will go upwards and it will create more discomfort. That's why they put them as close as possible to the entrance level. And this is the only kitchen and the smoke exits from here or from here. But here is the problem. The main purpose of underground is to remain hidden. It's not to defend. So that's why they try to stay hidden. But if the enemy sees the smoke, they will understand that. It's natural. That's why they only cook once a day, which is in nighttime.
This place is really cool.
And really cool as in temperature too, because we're in a cave. These were hand chiseled by, I guess, the Christians who were escaping persecution and hiding from like invaders basically. It's really neat.
Yeah, they've got like divots in the wall, I guess, to put like food and like sacks of food, and the animals they put like hay into like
The stable area at the entrance, yeah.
it's really cool to think like the mastery that was done with just hand chisel.
And literally chiseled by hand out of rock.
But now we gotta go find our group.
So, we are in a winery.
This area was a winery. They would put grapes here and stomp on them. The juice would then go and collect over in this little hollow area there, and they put the juice in those big ceramic vats to ferment and make wine. This is another winery. So these pits that are covered with the grapes were actually food storage spaces underground where it's nice and cool. Just a big hollow pit in the ground.
Look at the hole in the top of the tree.
It's very tight in here.
Did you see that? Archer at the end. Yes.
Oh, this is.
Look at the hole in the top. I will explain about them very soon.
Oh, I know what this is.
Yeah, we're probably guessed it. Okay, so let's get it up. Let me explain you all things. So my friends, I will going to explain a couple of things in here.
That was really cool. A really narrow tunnel, as you can see, and like barely any room to move. And even in that little tunnel, they had the stone door for defense purposes to roll into place and lock it off. Now, I'm only 5'6", and that was a really, really low tunnel. I just hit my head. So this is one of those stone doors, again, that they used to close off and block this place to invaders. Just, it's crazy that they hand chiseled that out of sheer rock. This tunnel is much bigger than the other one. So this one was
one of the smaller underground cities, I believe, but still very, very cool.
Yeah, very cool. I thought on the itinerary they said they were going to the big one.
But the itinerary also said that it's subject to change based on crowds and so forth. So it is what it is. We're at this one, Özkonak. I can't remember the name of it, but you know, it wasn't that expensive, and it's very, very cool to see.
Yeah, it was. It was definitely worth seeing. It doesn't have enough like hidey holes to like wander around in. But I think crouching down and walking too long would get old pretty fast.
Yeah, those tunnels are tight.
So, I very much enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I think that's it for the moment. We're going to be heading out, meeting up with the rest of the group, and I think we're probably doing a lunch stop next, if I'm not mistaken.
I guess we'll find out. We just finished lunch. We actually went to a really good restaurant.
So there was two options that the tour guide gave us. One was a buffet restaurant, and then the other was an a la carte. And luckily, most of the bus voted a la carte because the restaurant was actually really tasty.
Yeah, and they could handle gluten-free, no problem. There was tons of options for me, so at least that was a win.
And it wasn't as overpriced as I would expect for a tour activity. So yeah, that was actually quite a nice surprise. Our next stop after lunch is some gemstone shop that sells, it's called Zoltanite. It's, I guess, a local Turkish gemstone. So of course, you know, they're showing us how the gemstones polished and all the different fancy jewelry you can buy, but it's basically just a sales pitch to get you to buy something. So we wandered straight out the exit, and we're just sitting here waiting for the rest of the group to go to the next actual, touristy spot.
So we are here at Pigeon Valley.
So I guess way back in the day, the villagers here basically carved out these little holes in the rock that in the valley behind us, basically to be pigeon homes. And the reason for that is because pigeon poop was the best natural organic fertilizer. So they would climb up into those little holes and collect the pigeon poop and sell it or use it as fertilizer.
I guess that's really cool. It's just like a side stop. It's not, we can't go down there or anything like that. But it looks really cool.
It is really cool here. I guess whenever it was that they stopped, they decided to stop feeding the pigeons all left, or most of them left, so there's nowhere near as many these days. We've seen like a few flying around, but not a ton, so would have been something to see back in the day though.
Yeah, for sure.
So all those holes are like the little holes are pigeon homes. Wow, that's crazy.
That's so cool.
So this is Uçhisar Castle. Not like a castle like a medieval castle, but I mean, look at that. That's just crazy.
What's up is down, what's left is right. Chasing stars and holding you. I can't see the end, but we'll see it through.
So, as always with these tours, you don't ever really get enough time to do anything in particular. We only get 10 minutes, but there are trails that go all the way around here. So, if we were not on this tour, we'd probably explore a little bit more. That being said, it is very hot, so if you're going to do any exploring in the summer, make sure you bring a ton of water.
Don't fly too high. Be sure to keep the ground in sight.
All right, we are heading towards our last stop of the day, which is the Göreme Open-Air Museum, which should have some really cool like rock cave churches and frescoes to see. Which unfortunately, according to our guide, we won't be able to film inside the churches, so we won't be able to show you the frescoes, but we'll show you the outside as best we can.
I mentioned to you, before the Christians came to Cappadocia in 2nd century because they were running away from Roman persecutions, and they started to hide in the valleys and canyons. But in 4th century, during the time of Emperor Constantine, Christianity was legalized, and after that, these people who hide in the valleys, they start to come out, they start to form regular villages and thousands of monasteries. Of course, these thousands of monasteries did not happen out of nowhere. The Bishop of Cappadocia, Saint Basil of Kayseri, he encouraged people to build new monasteries in here. Also, he encouraged people to convert some of these monasteries into missionary schools. This is one example. This whole section is a monastery. It's a missionary school, and these two buildings are the dormitories. That is for men. This is for men, and this is for women. So they can talk to each other. They can cooperate, but there was certain limits, of course. And normally, if you visit a monastery in the world, you will see one church or two churches or three churches. But in here, there is so many churches because these churches are not just churches; these are classrooms. And it's not only the missionary candidates in here, also the villagers who want to learn about Christianity, they come to here. And vast majority of them, they don't know how to read or how to write. So how do you teach them? They don't have enough time to teach them how to read or how to write, so they have another methods, wall paintings, frescoes. They include some scenes from Bible. So what do? They step inside the church, show the fresco, and they recite the related verses from Bible and explain the story. They show another one, recite the verses and explain the story. That's how they used to teach.
This place is really cool.
It is. So this whole area at one point was a Christian monastery. And yeah, I guess the Christians were escaping Roman persecution in the 2nd century AD. In the 4th century, our guide said, the Emperor Constantine legalized Christianity, so they were able to move out of these, hidden cave villages, kind of basically just, started regular villages, and this whole area became Christian monasteries, and there's just numerous churches here, and the landscape here is just unreal. It is so cool.
From 12th century, and in 12th century the Sultanate of Rome was in charge of this area. It was the second Turkish and Muslim state in the area, but they were quite tolerant with other ethnicities and religions. Actually, when you enter to the church, first thing you're gonna notice is the blue background color. Blue color was almost like the signature of Byzantine culture, and you cannot find any kind of plants or minerals to obtain this color from Cappadocia. So you had to bring it from Constantinople or from Egypt. It was a very expensive dye. Still, they preferred to use it in their churches, which means that they still they were free to choose their own cultural identities in their churches, basically. The horsemen, Saint George and Theodore defeating the dragon, but don't expect the dragons from the Hollywood movies. It's kind of like a snake form, and it's a metaphor. So that dragon symbolizes evil or Roman paganism, and by defeating it is the victory of Christianity. And on the right side, there is three saints next to each other: Saint Basil and Saint Thomas, one of the apostles, and also Saint Onofrius, an Egyptian nun.
So just behind us is St. Barbara's Chapel. These are all really little chapels, but there's like a ton of them strewn throughout this site. There's some old remnants of the frescoes, and you can see up in the arches they've painted like Maltese crosses and stuff like that. Very cool, very faded, but unfortunately, again, we're not allowed to film inside, so we can't really show you, sadly. So these two rooms would have been the kitchens, and you can see this indentation in the ground here would have been where the fire was, and you can see the ceilings blackened. This place is really cool. This has been the highlight of the day so far, I think. All right, well, I think that is gonna do it for our day here in Cappadocia.
We kind of just hit the highlights. There's definitely way more to see than what we did, but I feel like this tour did it justice.
Yeah, definitely this was just like the Cliff's Notes version, just catching some of the highlights, but boy, this area is beautiful. Some of these chapels here at, where are we? Göreme Open-Air Museum
are just stunning. The frescoes inside are in actually incredible shape considering that they're from the 9th century. I wish we could have shown you guys what they looked like, but we're not allowed to film in there. In fact, in most of the chapels, they actually had security guards posted to make sure that people aren't filming in there. So you'll just have to come and see for yourself.
Yeah, they definitely saved the best for last. The open-air museum is not something to skip.
Only thing I wish with these tours is that, you know, maybe they wouldn't spend so much time at the shopping stops, like at the pottery workshop and the gemstone place. I understand why they do it, but
we did talk to the tour guide, and I guess it's part of trying to keep the tradition alive.
yeah, like the pottery, like the handicrafts, like that is a traditional art form here. So if it wasn't for tourism, it probably would die out. So I can understand that.
I get it. It's just, yeah. Anyways, we're gonna move on. So we'll put a link to the tour that we did, just in case you are interested. And yeah, Turkey is just really beautiful, and Cappadocia in particular is stunning.
Cappadocia is like nowhere else we've ever been, and it's awesome. And yeah, I think that's all there is to say about that. So I think we're going to leave it here for this video. We hope you've enjoyed coming along with us here in Cappadocia. And if you like this video, please hit the thumbs up, give us a like, and make sure you subscribe.
And join us in our next video for more adventures. Until then, stay curious and keep exploring.